thank you very much for having me here today, and especially thank you, Gescan, for this generous donation. You know, most of you for the last 3 months have been reading and seeing and all kinds of pictures, and you're probably up to here with flood detail, but just in case you've missed a few things, I thought maybe I'd give you a real quick summary from High River's point of view. This, of course, everybody knows has been Canada's largest disaster in terms of financial hit. You know, there's been others, of course, just even recently, like Megantic, that had an incredible toll in lives, but from a financial point of view, the Southern Alberta disaster has been enormous. And of course, in the epicenter of that was Calgary and High River. Calgary, in terms of numbers, had more people affected. But in terms of having your whole town evicted and evacuated, that's what happened to High River. We had 13,000 people in High River, and I was able to evacuate 12,700 and some of them. You know, so our entire community was basically empty the day after the flood. And we needed to do that. The safety of our citizens was in peril on June 20th. We had flood waters that were exceeding 3-4 feet high in many areas of the community. We had some casualties as well, as many of you are aware of. We lost 3 citizens on June 20th, and that can never be forgotten as well. High River has, as many of you know, always had troubles with the Highwood River, but never to the extent that we had this year. We've had many floods in recent years, 2005, 1995. Water comes, a day later water goes, and we clean up. It affects a couple areas of our community, and we pitch in, help those folks out, and we carry on with our community. This time, everything was different, and the difference was not only the size of the flood that came at us, but how quickly it came at us. We usually measure flood waters, or not usually, we always measure flow of water when we're talking about floods. And normally the river flows 50 cubic meters a second in that range. High River will begin to flood in our lower areas. You've probably heard the community of Wallaceville. That's the one that always floods on us. It's right next to the river. It begins to flood at around 220, 230 cubic meters per second. Our big floods in 95 and 2005 reached 700, 760 cubic meters per second. This one reached 2,000. Wow. Okay, 2,000 cubic meters a second. Niagara Falls flows at 1,860. So we have more water coming at us through the town of High River than flows over Niagara Falls every second. And the second worst thing that happened to us is we had very little time to react to it. Normally when we get warnings of heavy water coming to the town, we usually have about a 12 to 18 hour window to prepare, to get our flood tubes in place, to begin plans for evacuation if necessary, to warn residents, all of these good things that you can do in preparation for a high water event. This particular one, we set up our emergency operations center at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was called in at 6 o'clock in the morning. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I issued a local state of emergency. At 8:30, we began evacuating residents out of Wallaceville and the lower areas. At 9 o'clock, where our office is and where we have our emergency operations center, it's downtown. Water began trickling over the bridge and making the streets wet downtown. This is at 9 o'clock. At 20 after 9, it was 3 feet high. So it was just an incredible amount of water that came at us. I know you've heard all the reports about Jordan Greneville's report, flood mitigation. The province should have done that, should have done this. But I'll tell you, even with all those things in place, we still would have flooded. You cannot stop that amount of water. This was just a nightmare in Technicolor for the town of High River. However, you know, I'm so proud of our community. Our community is fighting back, getting back on its feet. It's now been 3 months. The worst part for our community is that we still have so many residents that are not at home yet. Approximately 2,000, 2,500 residents are still not back in their homes. Our downtown business sector is still shattered. We're getting a few businesses back in place now. Our banks are back in operation, and a couple other businesses are going. We've created a temporary business park downtown in High River where a lot of these businesses that can't open up for another 6-7 months in their normal location, we've got a sprung structure for them where they can get in and at least get some income coming in. Because a lot of these people not only lost their homes, they lost their business as well. So it's been a really difficult time. Insurance has been all over the board, as you probably heard in the newspapers. Some people have been very, very fortunate. Other companies have been leaving people out in the cold. And then, of course, DRP, the Disaster Relief Program, as a provincial program, which is supposed to help folks top up where insurance doesn't cover them. There's been problems with that program as well, trying to get it to the people as quickly as possible as they work through that. And so it's been a difficult area. We have, of course, 2 flood relief funds set up, the Red Cross Flood Relief Fund, which is meant for all of southern Alberta, and then High River set up its own flood relief fund, which is part of the donation today. That flood relief fund now is in excess of $700,000, and we have set up a local donations committee made up of ordinary citizens in the town of High River to begin to administer that fund. And they've already done a needs assessment in the community, and where those funds are going to go to is to help those citizens rebuild their homes and their businesses. We have many groups already in High River, such as the Red Cross, the Mennonite Disaster Relief Group, Samaritan's Purse, and others that are bringing volunteer labor into the community. And this fund that we have here will be used to support all the supplies and things like that, so we can help as many people as possible. So we're now a little over 3 months away from that awful day for all of us. But I'll tell you, the spirit in High River is excellent. We're moving forward as quickly as we can, and your donation today, thank you very much, will be another part to help High River get back on its feet. So I'd really like to thank all of you for supporting Gescan, and Gescan, I can't thank you enough for recognizing High River and making this donation to us. Thank you so much.